Good. I didn't have fun with that.
Good evening, everyone. I call to order the agenda setting meeting for the Woodland Hills School Board for the month of April 11th, 2018. Mr. Gigliotti, will you call the roll, please?
Ava Johnson.
Here.
Paige Strasbaugh.
Here.
Amy Glasser.
Present.
Jeff Hanchek. Jeff Hildebrand.
Here.
Mike Belmont.
Here.
Sharday Seligson.
Present.
David Graves.
Here.
Ronna Curry. One absent.
All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next week, we will accept the minutes from the March meetings, both the agenda and legislative meetings. The board did meet in executive session this evening to discuss legal and personnel matters. Any announcements, Mr. Johnson?
Just a couple. I want to publicly congratulate the Geo Challenge teams that Ms. Kathy Pearson facilitates for their regional first place wins in Harrisburg. It's quite an accomplishment for our kids. I've invited Ms. Pearson to have her kids come up in May and do their presentations for us, but they just won the accolade, and I wanted to make sure that was announced because that was quite an accomplishment. There were teams from multiple states at that, and our kids scored, I think, 2 first place awards in that competition, so that's great news. And the other announcement was just to remind folks that on next Thursday, the 19th, there will be a public meeting to discuss the high school renovations. Everyone's welcome to here. I just had it written and forgot it. We just talked about it 20 minutes ago. That will be on the 19th here at 6 p.m.
I think we're going to go to the high school.
Oh, at the high school. Yeah. Sorry. I apologize. The meeting will be at the high school Thursday the 19th at 6 p.m. Sorry. And that's all.
Okay. Does anyone else have announcements? Okay. Seeing none, our student speakers should be here next week. That will bring us to presentations. Dr. Colucci?
Good evening, board and visitors. My name is Kate Graneman Coluccio, and I am the director for the last 8 years, I believe, of the Carnegie Free Library of Swissvale. Once a year or so, I come to the board to present a report of matters related to the library's achievements and what's been going on at the library in the last year. And I'm also going to speak to some questions concerning the future of the library. So Woodland Hills School District is one of the very few districts in the state with ownership and management responsibility for a public library. The district, as you all know, acquired the library when all the various boroughs, school districts merged to form the Woodland Hills School District. The building is quite old, kind of at the end of its useful life, and I understand that a couple of things are being considered to solve that problem. One of them is the possibility of an arrangement with Swissvale Borough, who, last I heard, were interested in building a new community center and library. I haven't heard recently about that, though, so things may have changed. The other possibility is a renovation of the Swissvale Library building, and I understand that there are funding issues complicating that. I do want to let you know that Pennsylvania, I just recently learned, Pennsylvania will soon open up Keystone Grant opportunities. And in either one of these scenarios, that grant could be applied for, and it has a maximum of $750,000 that's available. So that's an opportunity that you might not have heard about yet. Either of these solutions, either the renovation of the current library building or Swissvale building a new building, would open up new opportunities for the users and patrons of the Swissvale Library and would, I'm sure, bring more people to the library. The current building, as it is, has its limitations that we all know about. I'm very interested to hear what will happen next, and if there's anything that you can tell me now or at a future conversation, that would be quite useful. If Woodland Hills continues to own the library and manage the library, I suggest that you consider a contractual arrangement with the board of directors of the C.C. Mellor Library, whereby the board would provide board management oversight, and the school district would continue to provide financial support. That may make functioning of the library simpler for the school district, and may even actually make a better library, as we would be more connected with C.C. Mellor and have additional resources available that way. Not financial, but combining work, combining programs, things like that. So that's something that if you continue to have the Swissvale Library, I suggest you seriously look into. So the Swissvale Library Director, otherwise known as me, works 20 hours a week, and although it doesn't generally go that way, but I'm contracted for 20 hours a week. And I want to tell you, without complaint, this is in no way a complaint. I love working at the library. I love this job that I have, the patrons, the staff. It's great. It's something I'm pleased with. But I want to say that a public library having a 20-hour-a-week director is a problem. It's a full-time job. It was a full-time job before I had it. There are things that I can't attend to. There are responsibilities that fall to the staff that they shouldn't have to have. There are phone calls that I receive when I'm not there because I said I would do that as backup for the staff because, in effect, they don't have their director half of each week. It's a really tough situation, and I don't recommend it. I really recommend that the library have a full-time director, still being me. At least, I recommend that the library that the library director position be 30 hours a week rather than 20. It would make a big difference in the functioning of the library. We all do our best, and particularly a couple staff people carry really extra responsibility that they need to, because they're dedicated, they do that, and that helps the situation work. But it's an unworkable situation that we make as workable as we can. And I haven't said that before, so I really wanted to put it out in front of you all tonight that that's the situation. There's only 2 libraries, I think, in the county with part-time directors, and it's, well, you heard me. Okay. One of the library staff people who carries extra burden because of me being part-time, I really want to advocate the senior library clerk receive a raise for the amount of responsibility that she carries. As far as the building goes, we all know the issues with the building. The spruce-up work that happened last year was very helpful and made an impact, particularly the children's room with the new floor. It's so pretty. It's just very attractive. And circulation of children's library materials went up a lot this year. And I think partly the room is more comfortable for people to come to. They don't worry about kids in that germy old carpet. And it's pretty. But back to the building again. The workspace, one of the workrooms has a carpet that's all pulled up. It's a tripping hazard. It's torn. It's ripped. And it would make a huge difference in the flow of work in the back space of the library to have that floor repaired, that carpet replaced, maybe tile put down. I know you don't want to invest a lot of money in the library right now because it's up in the air what's happening. But that would be a small repair. And the friends of the library would get new furniture for the space, make it more workable that way. But they can't do it on top of the carpet that's rumpled up and pushed up and torn. And we all have to be careful not to trip on it. So I'm advocating that space get the attention that would be very helpful for workability there. So I want to tell you some things that happen at the library. What happens at a public library? What happens at the Swissvale Library? Today, a man was having a computer lesson. He's from Argentina. He's Italian. He's a grandfather. And today he had a FaceTime chat with his granddaughter in Argentina. And then she sent him pictures from the train she was riding on from Argentina. And this happened in the library. And he learned to use his computer in the library. And he's empowered in a way that he wouldn't have been without coming to this computer class that we have. Last week, a young man came into the library, young 20s, asked for Joyce, reminded her who he is. He used to come to the library as a teenager from a very troubled family. He and his brother spent lots of time at the library. We hooked them up with Rankin Christian Center services. They were high-risk kids. And he just graduated from Penn State. And he thanked Joyce for everything that we did for him in his high school years in the library. Because that's one of the things we do at the library, is we advocate for people and services that they need. And every Saturday we have a robotics class. I heard you talk about the kids here. We have the younger kids. And a volunteer from the neighborhood who teaches Lego robotics, programming, cleverly disguised as games. And these kids often win awards. And it happens at the library every week. Kids learn programming. Here are some of the things that we accomplished in the last year. In 2017, the increase of items that went out of the library, the items that went out of the library increased by 10%. That's really very high, from 55,000 to 65,000. And some libraries had an increase, some had a decrease. Ours went way up. Also, the circulation of e-books went way up. People still use the libraries a lot. The book budget that was increased in our last year's budget from 3,000, I think, to 5,000 helped a lot. We were able to buy a lot more new stuff that people like. We changed the library card so that people can now borrow as many things as they want at one time, which is very popular. And that helped because now people take out more stuff than they did, especially movies. And as I said, the children's room is more attractive, and parents are bringing their children and borrowing more things than they used to. We had a lot of programs at the library, and we had 20% more people come to those programs in 2017 than 2016, 3,200 people. They came to a couple of 100th anniversary parties, the computer classes that I told you about, game nights, preschool story hours, health classes, and a new series that we have about taking care of your houseplants. We have a lot of programs at the library. Four book clubs where people come and talk about stuff that everybody decides they'll read. Some people don't have computers, and they come use our computers. Sometimes their printer's broken. They come use our printer. We have faxing, and a lot of people use the faxing because it's inexpensive at the library, and people who work at home care and things like that, they have to send their timesheets in every week. We send lots and lots of faxes, and it's a good public service. We just recently acquired printing from somebody's phone or laptop. In fact, they can even do it from home. And that's a service that I know will grow more and more popular as people find out about it. We've hired a new new librarian. We hired her for adult programs, but she's also going to do the summer reading program as our current children's librarian phases out of summer reading and takes on other responsibilities instead. With the addition of Tess, we'll also be able to have more adult programs since she can devote time to it that I'm not able to. We had somebody who did cataloging, and that took up a certain amount of staff time, but recently we've given part of that job to someone in-house, and we've given the more complicated part of that to Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, who has offered to help all the county libraries with their complicated catalog issues, which takes a good bit of work off our hands, and we don't need to pay for that service. So that's quite a nice thing. We have 10 volunteers, and they come in about 30 hours a week, 32 hours a week. So they add almost the equivalent of a full-time staff person. And they do the behind-the-scenes things like putting books away and checking things in and out. And they do all kinds of things that make a big impact day to day. One of the volunteers dusts. She likes to do that, and she keeps things looking spick and span beyond the level that they might otherwise look. And she keeps things straight and pretty. And our library friends, we're so blessed to have the library friends, and they have a book sale starting tomorrow. Tomorrow for the next 3 days. They, with the funds that they raise, they add more new materials that we wouldn't be able to get with the budget. They buy books and DVDs and pay for the summer activities in the summer reading program. And they also act as a sounding board and a cheering section, and they're really quite valuable at the library. So the Smithsonian Library is lively. There's a lot going on there. I invite every one of you to come visit. I'm proud of this library. I think you would be too. I think maybe you are, and if you came to see it, you'd probably like it. I'm really glad that we all have this opportunity together to create the library, and I look forward to creating the next phase of the library. Thank you.
Okay. That will move us to registered speakers. I don't see Ms. Maccabee. Okay, so Mr. Ginsburg? Thank you. Speakers are reminded that their time is limited to 2 minutes. Before making remarks, please give your name and address. And we will not entertain questions at this time, but we'll answer them in response following the meeting. And personal attacks are not permitted. Thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. David Ginsburg, 9 Orchard Street, Braddock Hills. I've been a resident of Braddock Hills for 45 years. I have a business and been a property owner in East Pittsburgh for 30 years. And 2 years ago, I bought property in Braddock. So I do have a vested interest in Woodland Hills School District. In addition to that, I've been your environmental consultant for the last 30 years, dealing with renovations and indoor air quality issues over the years. One of my main concerns is I understand there's going to be a tax increase, which brought to mind a notice that was posted on my garage door 2 years ago about my delinquent neighbor who hadn't paid his school taxes for 5 years, to the amount of about $8,000. I believe at that time Jordan Tax Service was collecting the taxes, if that's correct, and they are no longer doing that.
No, they are. Jordan is still our
Okay,
tax
so
collector.
I don't know if there was a process. I would assume that this is an ongoing issue with other property owners in the Woodland Hills School District. But I know fiscal responsibility, and with the future plans we have for the renovations at Dixon and with the high school forthcoming, that as much money as we can get would probably be much of a benefit. I don't know what the process is, but somebody should be paying attention. My second issue is the fracking issue in Braddock. I'm kind of amazed at how much people don't really know about this, but this is going to impact the school district and in the long run. If this goes through, U.S. Steel has granted permission to a company from Colorado who has never done this type of drilling before. There's a lot of literature, a lot of information. There's an organization, the North Braddock Residents for Our Future, which fought the fracking potential issue up at the golf course 2 years ago, which got voted down. But the consequences related to potential health issues, in that we already have U.S. Steel who's in violation of their Title V requirements, to bring fracking in would also create additional health issues. We will have infrastructure issues that will be related to the roads, air quality, and building structures because of all the mines we have here with the release of methane and the possible impaction of foundations that will give way. This has happened 4 or 5 years ago. There was an incident at White Oak that was actually on the news here. There was fracking in eastern Ohio, and I know of individuals who now have leaking basements and fractured foundation walls as a result of that. In conclusion, I think, unless people aren't going to come to Woodland Hills School District because we have pretty schools. People want good air quality, nice infrastructure. There's been some recent development in Braddock with restaurants, and it's been somewhat encouraging. And dealing with the folks from North Braddock who are involved in trying to come to some resolution and fight this thing. I've met young professionals who have moved to North Braddock There are very few places in Pittsburgh where you can still afford a nice home. And they are somewhat concerned about the potential. They came here because of the school district, but not because of poor air quality. I would certainly encourage the school board to get involved, as I would encourage all the municipalities to get involved, because this could have a very serious impact on the whole school district in addition to the community. I thank you. If you need any information about contacts, I'll be happy to provide that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, may I give you a call about that? Because I actually seriously was not aware of the fracking issue, and I apologize that I wasn't. But I'd like to learn more. If you could help me out, I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Yeah, I was kind of amazed because I had a meeting with Mike, and I talked to him about it, and he...
No, I honestly, is it Braddock or North Braddock or both?
Where is it going to be?
Yeah.
In Braddock. It's going to be at the far end. They leased 10 acres down there. They gave permission to this company. They haven't applied for their permit yet, which is down the road. But we had a meeting with the Allegheny County Health Department on March 7th, and talking to these people is like talking to the wall. I mean, people were up there from North Braddock presenting their case, and Dr. Hacker and a few other people, you know, they had they were texting, you know, and they weren't even paying attention. So, and they certainly haven't enforced the U.S. Steel violations. So,
Thank you.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mrs. Reed.
Jessica Reed, 9 Curry Court, Wilkins Township. As you all know, on Saturday, April 7th, the building of Dixon was open to the public to come in and take whatever they wanted for free, because everything that remained in the building was deemed to be useless, broken, moldy, etc. It was all scrap that the board was asked to approve to pay a company up to $20,000 to remove for us. This characterization of the property versus the reality of what I saw when I went into that building were worlds apart, in my opinion. I arrived around 8:30 a.m., and though I had never been to the building before in my life, I knew I was approaching the right place because the street was lined for blocks with U-Hauls, cargo vans, and pickup trucks. Upon entering the building, I noticed boxes labeled with teachers' names and other building names. I found out this was because former teachers of Dixon were told to pack up their stuff and label it, and it would be moved to them at the buildings they were being transferred to. Apparently, in 2.5 years, not everything had been moved, despite teachers repeatedly trying to communicate that they hadn't received all their belongings. They were continuously told everything labeled had been moved, and whatever remained wasn't anything anybody needed. Who should make that decision? It's common knowledge in this country that teachers regularly spend their own money on supplies, and that's certainly true in this cash-strapped district. What a complete disrespect and disregard for their time and money. Opening the building to the public on Saturday came about in a seemingly very rushed way. The hastily planned event was understaffed, resulting in items and fixtures not on the scrap list being removed, as well as the theft of equipment of outside organizations that had been stored on the property. But it didn't have to be this way. The construction project has been discussed for many months, maybe years now. We all knew that the goal was to get started this year. Teachers who had taught at Dixon should have been given one last chance, or maybe multiple last chances, to walk through months ago and get anything they needed or wanted. Then teachers and staff from all the other buildings should have been given a chance to go in. There are broken chairs, desks, trash cans, and various other items in classrooms all through this district that could have been replaced with the ones that were perfectly fine in Dixon. There were lockers filled with books of varying elementary reading levels that could have been distributed to the various parent-teacher organizations to find their way into the hands of our students. Many people at the event on Saturday were there from local private schools, child care centers, and churches. If this had been more carefully considered, our school could have and should have communicated with them directly prior to the public free-for-all. We maybe could have made a little bit of money on these items, and these organizations still would have gotten a good deal and walked away satisfied. They could have come in on a separate day to look through everything and haul it away properly. I believe after all of this, there still would have been items left to offer to the public for free. And after all of that, I would hope that an organization like Construction Junction would have been contacted to consult on if these items could be eligible to be donated or reused. A cursory glance at their website tells me that yes, indeed, many of these items would have qualified. In my opinion, paying a company up to $20,000 to remove everything should have been very, very far down on the list of possibilities. This was an opportunity to create goodwill with every stakeholder in our school community, from the teachers and staff to inside and outside organizations to taxpayers and the community at large. While many members of our community were thrilled at the opportunity to go in and get free stuff from the building, many of our most important assets were left scratching their heads in wonder and feeling as if they had been punched in the gut. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That will move us to the agenda.
No, Mr. Flanagan.
Oh,
Flanagan, yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Flanagan, I didn't see your name there. Apologies.
Good evening. Robert Flanagan, Comrie Avenue, Braddock. I'd like to give appreciation and thanks to Coach Miller and his basketball team. I grew up in Braddock and graduated from General Braddock. What football is to Woodland Hills, basketball was to General Braddock, which was comprised of Braddock, Rankin, and North Braddock. Excuse me. And to see what's with the transformation of the basketball team the past 2 years, and especially this year, has been a pleasure to see. And I know Mr. Miller, Coach Miller, came in with an idea and a plan, and it's working. And it was the main thing of that plan was to nurture, have a venue for the younger players to come in and hone their skills and get to know each other, so that when he got them to the high school level, they were already familiar with each other and ready to work together under his leadership. General Braddock was the first school to win a state championship in only their second year of existence, and we did that with 3 communities. So for a while I was baffled as to how we didn't have success in a basketball team with 12 communities in Woodland Hills. And I don't think there's been this kind of success since Matt Furjanic was coach here. And even the coach after him, we knew him as Sticks. I forget what his full name was.
Gary Angelito.
Yes, thank you. Because Matt Furjanic was my high school coach. And Sticks used to hang around every game and practice. He was around. And Matt did what Mr. Miller did. He took us to basketball tournaments, signed us all together to play together over the summer. And I know in my 2 years, junior and senior year, we went 32-4. Just to say again, the basketball tradition that we had going on, and to win a state championship. I was in 8th grade when that took place. So again, hats off to Coach Miller. And when you talk about nurturing, infusing African American history into the curriculum, especially in the lower grades, I thank you for what has been transpired in a year-round course being taught. And on this issue, when they say, you give an inch and you want a foot, well, you've given an inch, I want a yard when it comes to this, because I feel it would be tremendously helpful infusing it, and especially with reports out there as to how successful a youth can be by the 3rd or 4th grade. If they're don't have that sound foundation, it's going to be rough the rest of the way. And including reports on their judging that success on building jails, determining how many prisons they'll need in the future by our 3rd, 4th, 5th grade accomplishments. So in a district like this, and what I know about African American students and the impact of getting to know self and learning more about self. And again, we're talking about American history, not talking about anything special other than teaching the wholeness of American history. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, having checked my list again, see that we have no
That's
additional
everybody.
speakers.
That was the last one.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you.
we'll begin board matters. Action item 2.1, request approval of the appointment of Mr. Mike Belmont to the Allegheny County Southeast Tax Collection Commission as the primary voting delegate for the district, and naming Michael Gigliotti as the alternate.
Okay.
Questions?
Any questions on that?
Action item 2.2, approval to recommend Deborah A. Robensrauch of the Wilkinsburg School District as the school board trustee for the Eastern Region of the Allegheny County Schools Health Insurance Consortium for a period of 2 years, effective April 30th, 2018.
Any questions on that?
Yeah, say that name again.
Deborah A. Robensrauch. I took German, so I am very particular about my German pronunciation.
You did better than I would have. Thank you.
Action item 2.3, request approval of the ballot of officers for the Eastern Area Special Schools Board of Directors. That's attached. That's the Sunrise School.
Any questions on that? I'll just mention that I sit on as a member of the board for the Eastern Area Special Schools, but I'm not on the slate of officers. That's a different group, but I am a member of that board, just so you guys are all reminded of that.
Right.
It's already approved, right?
There's
Probably voting for it.
right. We're not. I mean, we're
Vote besides.
it's an approval of the slate
Approval of the
that
slate.
the board has
Right.
already selected.
You
Yeah.
entrusted your representative to come up with an acceptable board. Now you're just kind of ratifying that action.
Right.
Action item 2.4, first reading of policy 239 on foreign exchange students. That policy is attached.
Any questions on that? That will be a 3-month
That will be a
review,
3-month, correct.
so we won't vote on that next week, but we will be able to discuss that at committees the week following.
Right. Action item 2.5, approval of all 2018-19 school calendars. That's for the 183, 187, 211, Act 93, and 260-day employees. This is different than the school calendar you approved. This is the specific employee calendars. They have different calendars for depending on their classification.
Although I think the regular school calendar is included in there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's additional information that's not part of the regular school calendar. And things like in-service days and work days and non-work days and so forth.
Yeah. Any questions on those?
Action item 2.6, request approval of engaging blank as the search firm for the superintendent of schools at a cost of blank.
Right. That's something we'll discuss next week.
Right.
Any questions? No. Okay.
Moving on to special education, action item 4.1, approval to ratify a contract with News Story for the 2017-18 school year at a total cost of $14,018. It's for a student.
Any questions? Okay. Seeing none.
Action item 4.2, approval to ratify a contract with News Story for the 17-18 school year for a student at a cost of $12,420.
Any questions? Okay.
Action item 4.3, approval to ratify another contract with News Story for the 17-18 school year for a student at a total cost of $12,972.
Any questions? Okay.
Action item 4.4, request approval of a contract with the Delphi Education Incorporated for the 18-19 school year. This is not approving a student. This is just approving the charges that they would impose upon us for placing a student at one of their facilities. So you're not being asked to spend any money with this. Just agree to the prices that they will charge.
Any questions on that?
Yeah, how much do we use their services now?
I don't know that we have anybody at Delphi right now, do we, Jennifer? We don't. We haven't used them for a year or so, but it's a backup.
Am I correct in understanding this is giving us the option of using that school should we require it? Okay.
It's giving us a continuing service.
Okay.
It's for special ed and regular education.
Okay. And were we to enroll a student there, would the board be asked to approve that at that point as well?
Yes, just like the other one.
Okay.
Yes, it's just a licensed private.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none?
Action item 4.5, request approval to operate an extended school year program in the summer of 2018, July 9th to August 3rd of 2018, for students who are eligible to participate. Okay, guys, we held this last time because there wasn't a cost. Where's the cost on this?
There's an attachment.
Okay, we should put that in the motion line so that can be seen. Can we change that before next week? So that, am I understanding this correctly, that the total budget estimate is $187,142.50? And the out-of-district are paying us, right?
In district, 187,142. That's what we'll be paying to our employees, and then there will be people placed outside the district.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
$282,445 for a total of $469,588. Is that correct?
Yeah, okay. I misunderstood that. I thought that was people coming to us, and it's not. It's for students that don't qualify for our ESY program. Yeah.
How long is this program?
1 month.
July.
20 days.
20
Yeah.
days.
This is a requirement that's imposed on us by IDA to offer these services to students who are at risk of regression or losing their knowledge if they don't have continued educational services across the summer.
Can you give me a sense of how many students will be doing the out of district? What's the number of students who will be out of the district?
We approximately.
If you don't know right now, we can.
Yeah, I don't know right.
That's fine. If you can.
The one who coordinates that, so I have to ask for the exact amount. But again, it's a rolling.
Sure.
Because not all the students, not all the DORAs or even notice of recommended educational placement. They're not all yet in. She hasn't finalized that yet.
Okay. If you can give me a sense of give us a sense of what the number is based on in terms of students there, so we can have a comparison of how many students, of what our cost is per student versus the out of district cost for students, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
It says here it's based on 125 eligible students. Is that?
That's for our in-house.
That's our in-house. Okay.
Usually, when you come to the out of district, they're all a little bit different. They can range anywhere from $2,500 a student, anywhere to $8,000 a student, depending on their level of service needs.
Okay.
During that time.
Okay.
What we should do for you, and I'll talk to Jennifer, but we'll see if we can do this for the board. I know it is a lot of money. It doesn't seem like a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but we've actually brought that expense down by doing our own internal program. So, Mike, we go back in a couple of years before we did our own and recover costs for the board so they could see a comparison, like when we used to not have our own program. Can we go back that far?
Yeah, I just have to be able to find that because now we're tracking it separate. I'll have to see if we have it
All
broken
right.
out.
We'll try to do it, but yeah, Jen.
I was going to say, I know we started our program, this will be going on our third year.
Right.
So I know before we started our program in 14-15, the cost was estimated around $672,000
Yeah.
for the summer.
We definitely save money by going to our own program. And the problem is we can't compel them to take our program, or sometimes their needs can't be met by our program, and so then we have to go outside the district.
Currently, right now, the students that we have in district, there's approximately only about 3 that we can't meet their needs in our district program.
So is that 125 going to be split between us and out of state, or is that out of district?
No, right now, that 125 is for the in-district students only. That was based on our students right now in district, which that number changes depending. Those are the eligible students, but again, the notice of recommended educational placements have to come in to say whether the parent would agree to send their student or not. This is one thing that in the that's actually voluntary. in education this extended school year if the parents do not have to send their students.
Well, but wait, we're confusing the board. They don't have to do it, but we have to offer
We
it.
have to offer it.
Yeah.
But they are allowed to say.
They're allowed to say no.
I do not approve.
But if a student meets the qualifications, we must offer it to them.
Yes.
And most parents generally say yes, they like it. And also generally something else that confused because you said before that only 3 of our kids weren't eligible for internal ESY, which would suggest that we're paying $400,000 for 3 kids.
I was talking about the out-of-district student, and the number you see there is for students already receiving services in our APSs and our licensed private facilities.
Right. So we have kids going to places like Pace, Wesley, do their own ESY, and if they're eligible, we have to pay that. And we have to pay it at that APS, whatever institution that may be. And unfortunately, they become expensive. What we're saying is we used to send our own kids to those places, and we paid a great deal more than what we're paying now by doing our own. Does that make sense? It's clearly an expensive venture all the way around, but it's every district deals with this. We're not the only ones. Any other questions? Okay. That moves to personnel. I'm sorry, Mr. Green. Or that Mike?
Is that what you wanted to get across?
Yes.
Okay.
If I haven't confused people more.
No, is everybody clear on that? We have clarity? We can stop. We can talk about it some more if you want. Okay.
I'll just put a plug in. It's a great program.
It is a very good program.
Much needed for some of our students.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't just do one less expensively. I think it's better. It's less expensive. I think it's better. And this year we're moving the location this year because we have air conditioning, so it's going to be even better. All right, we'll move to personnel and action item 6.1 and asking for approval of sections B, D, F, and G.
Any need to go to discuss anything here? Okay.
Action item 6.2, request approval of the MOU with the Woodland Hills Education Association for professional employee.
Okay. Again, anything in personnel would have to go to executive,
Right.
so if there's a need for that, let me know.
Also note, we'll be adding 2 tabs, 6.3, which will be for action on a professional employee, and action item 6.4, which will be requesting approval for mediation services not to exceed an amount to be set. That'll be added to the agenda for next week. And then we'll move on to technology and action item 7.1. Request permission to advertise the RFP bid for the Woodland Hills School District outsourced photographic services.
Any questions on that? Okay.
Action item 7.2, request permission to renew support on the data center's compellent disk storage system at a cost of $8,807.67 from the general fund.
Any questions? Okay.
Action item 7.3, request permission to renew support on the data center's VMware's vSphere at a cost of $7,482 from the general fund.
Any questions?
Action item 7.4, permission to accept the ComDoc proposal for outside printing services.
Any questions?
That's attached along with the cost comparisons.
Okay. And we also have ComDoc here if we have any questions for them. So.
Oh, I didn't realize they were here.
Yep.
Oh, hey, there you are. Hi. Sorry. How you doing, bud?
Good.
Sorry, I didn't see you. You're behind a post there. ComDoc has always provided really outstanding service for us, so this one is a no-brainer for us.
Any questions?
No?
Okay.
Okay. That'll move us the whole way to buildings and grounds. And action item 10.1, request permission for use of facilities by outside organizations for the 17-18 school year. That's attached. We are still working on coming up with some language for a revised policy. We'll bring that at policy committee meeting later in the month.
I will add one thing. This just got posted a couple hours ago. Each request reflects the policy as it sits right now. So if there's a cost there, it reflects exactly what the policy says.
So I know there's some conflicts on here based on times that already for other organizations. I don't know how you resolve this.
Well, we don't. Why don't if you can indicate which ones, we'll resolve it before.
I talked to Bob about one of them already.
We'll resolve them before next week. We're not voting on them tonight. We'll get them resolved.
I'll have to sit down with Barb because I had Barb put them in school dude. Usually when you put it in a school dude, it will pop up a red flag.
It's supposed to
say
flag
there's a conflict, so I'll have to revisit that tomorrow with her.
Let's make sure we do that. All right. Can we?
Does outside organizations have access to school dude?
No. Well, the public, they have the access to the public interface, don't they, Bob?
Yeah, as long as they go on our webpage.
It's off the buildings and grounds page.
And there's a calendar there that shows what you have. Yeah.
I think you have to create a login, like a username and a password. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, you got to go through. You got to register for it.
Yeah, you kind of register for it, and then you have access to it. And I think that's even where the one of the request forms is on there too.
You
right?
also have an application on it that you can fill out, print out, and then fill it out and send it in.
But you can see the calendar without doing the login, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I wonder how there's overlap.
Right.
Everything's centralized in one place.
You should be able to see when the facilities are in use.
Can I ask a question about the Swissville Athletic Association wants to use the football field and practice fields from July to December? Are those at Dixon? Are those fields going to be available with construction going on there?
Yes.
Fieldhouse is going to be destroyed.
The only thing that's going to be touched is the baseball field.
Okay. They're not going to store equipment or anything up there? Or?
Nope. It's all going to be, everything's going to be stored in the back parking lot.
To our knowledge, the only thing that's happening on a football field is they have to take out those transformers on the light standards, and that's it. Because they're old PCB transformers. No, it's bad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions?
The house event, is that received? That was supposed to be...
I'm sorry, I didn't look. I apologize. For that May 18th or something? Was that May 18th or what?
I don't see it.
General question: how is this organized? Is it just like as the requests come in?
We'd like to be out of here by 11.
The applications? Are you asking about how the applications are?
No. How the chart that's on the tab, how that's organized.
We put the information, like, these are permits that come in paper-wise, and paper...
There's no order. There's no order.
There is no specific order.
Okay.
No, there's no.
So, but they also come in through school dude, also, and then we get paper permits as well, though. And then we type that information into that for you to review.
So as it comes in, it's how it's ordered.
Correct.
Got it.
Is there any way we can change this, make this a little bit easier? Yeah, isn't that what you? I mean, it's just.
I don't know.
I don't know if you do it by date or.
You mean the chart that's here?
Yeah, just a chart. Make it
by location
easier to read.
Thing. Yeah. Or you put the order.
We're going to be looking at this at the policy committee, right, Paige?
Yeah.
Paige,
I'm
goal
open
in
to-
life is to find the solution, make this whole thing better.
It is the internal quest is to figure this one out. I'm open to suggestions, Mr. Graves. I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure what would look. What have any ideas about what would look better? Like, I think maybe we should have the dates recorded differently or
Go ahead
something.
and add it. I already talked.
I don't know.
We could look. I mean, I think date would be helpful, but I think organizing by facility would also be helpful.
Oh.
So you want to buy facility by date?
I think that makes the most sense to me.
Dates because it overlaps so many. Like there's some dates that maybe like
Yeah.
I said earlier is all summer.
Yeah.
So that's kind of tough because there will be a lot of overlaps. But maybe facility.
Yeah. That might
Yeah,
help.
that's a good idea.
That might help.
That's.
But we still don't know by looking at this list what we've approved previously just from this paper. We'd have to look back to see what has been previously approved. So that, I don't know. We need to talk about how to make that more efficient, I think. and make sure that we have a sense of whether there's a conflict somehow. You know, I don't know. Does that?
We need, the request again is to try to find a way to get it more manageable so we don't have people reserving months and months of a facility and only using it 3 or 4 times and organizing this, how it's near all these. So you guys, you're approving this and you don't know what you've already approved. You may be approving somebody to use something that you approved the same facility last month and it's not, you don't have any way of knowing that.
I was hoping the technology helps us out with that part.
Yeah, I
But
wonder.
if we have a conflict.
It would have a
I don't think
flag,
that
it
part
wouldn't
is
go through.
going well neither.
That's what we were eliminating.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's supposed to.
No,
So that might be
said
why-
it wouldn't go through if it flagged. So if there was a flag on it when they're entering it, if it was a conflict, we would get flagged.
It wouldn't even let me save it if
So
there's a
that-
conflict.
That might be why the HUD's event isn't on there.
Because there's a conflict
It lets
with
me
soccer.
submit it. It shows me that it's pending, but apparently it didn't actually go through, and I've asked
Well,
about it.
Your stuff is on the calendar by itself. Nothing else is there. I checked it last night when I was there at 7:40.
It's not on this list.
I understand. I could not find the application. Period. I was there until 7:45 last night looking for it.
But it was,
So we'll track that one down.
So I don't.
We'll figure
Again,
out.
there have been other applicants that said they sent they did it online. If you don't save the application, it must get lost, and that's something I'm gonna have to reach out to School Dude about tomorrow.
Is there a report that School Dude can produce?
I could ask him that.
Because that way we would see a running list of what's new based from the last meeting, and whether there's any whether there's any conflicts. There's got to be something that they can push out from that.
When you click on FS Direct, which is this falls under Facilities Direct, it will show you anything new comes in. It's at the very top of it. It says you have 10 new applicants, and then underneath it says old. It says approved, which ones have been approved, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all on a screen.
Okay, so what I'm wondering is if there's a way to change what we see in the monthly tabs to something that School Dude is producing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That would allow us to see what we have done previously. I mean, even if it's a link that we click from our tab, that we could go back and see what we previously approved and what's new. I don't know. That may not exist, but if it does, that would be helpful to me. So.
School Dude count. Oh, never mind. It's not up to date based on what we approved previous.
Okay. So that saga will continue.
yeah.
Is there any other?
Sorry, can I say one more thing? On the user end,
Mhm.
whenever I submitted the HUD's application, there was a conflict, and I did get a flag. But I had already spoken to everybody and their brother about this, and was told it's okay, go ahead and submit it anyway. So I did, and it allowed me to. So
Okay.
Put it flat.
That's helpful.
I just want everybody to understand what it looks like on the user.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Okay.
That's helpful.
Yeah, that's actually reassuring a little bit.
Okay.
But then it's apparently not getting somewhere else in the system.
Yeah. So we'll need to look at that. Thank you for following up on that.
I mean, the event is still, I think, fine. We'll make sure of that, but
Okay, we've been holding off on
advertising, sure.
We don't want to do anything.
Well, I made a note for myself to work with Teresa and Bob tomorrow. We'll confirm that, and I'll call you, and we'll make sure we have a clarity on that to the extent possible, because that's a big event.
Yeah, and then if we can get some information about what's happening.
Yeah.
Because I haven't heard much about it at this point, so.
Yeah.
Would be right.
Well, they've been holding off because
Got
they
it.
weren't sure we had
Got
a
it.
facility, right?
Chicken or egg.
Excellent.
Right.
Okay. Anything further on facilities use? Okay.
Okay. We'll go to school finance. Action item 12.1, request ratification of the bill list for invoices paid after the March 2018 legislative meeting.
Any questions on the ratification list?
Action item 12.2, request approval of the April 2018 bill list.
Any questions on the regular bills?
I don't know if it falls under this category or not.
Okay.
But I'm going to bring it up now because this is where I see the bills for it. Can we say what's the status of our state audit? How long are they going to? Because we're getting billed for that from our legal bills. So.
The state audit, they're done.
They're done. They're
waiting for them.
Going through their report generation now. What were some of the things that they're going to?
Oh, we're going to get some discussion on the security issues and
security,
the safety issue. And
security issues. Not having
but they're done.
Huh? It's done.
Okay.
It's done. Yeah. There's no more.
Yeah, you don't have to give us a preview.
No, it's
sure
done.
that'll be happy times when we get it.
Yeah.
Mike, for finance, why don't you add some highlights of that for us? We can put that on the agenda for our finance committee, the state audit.
If I can pull all the emails together, then yeah, 'cause they did. It's not in the.
We don't have a report from them yet, right?
No, we don't.
There's no report.
Okay, so
we've had to respond to a couple things, and we know some other things that are going to be in there
okay,
because of the ongoing.
we can talk about maybe the work we've done on it, but we don't need to speculate on what the report's going to say until we have the report.
No, I'm not going to give a speculation report, but I can give you something.
Okay.
Do you want to address the letter we got? That was also on our bill list, wasn't it, for the Wilkins property assessment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about that. I mean, we were contacted by Wilkins.
But we didn't approve it.
We have not taken any action on that.
No.
On that question. This is an assessment issue with the residents in Wilkins Township. We have not taken any formal action on that at this point. So I did follow up with the manager of Wilkins Township and with the commission president regarding that letter and let them know that we have not taken any formal action and we're going to continue to discuss with them. I believe Mr. Vogel has been in touch with the solicitor for the township following on that to follow up with them and see what we can do going forward and how we can talk about that assessment, but then also future processes to make sure that we're in communication with the municipalities as we discuss these things. So,
thank you.
Sure. Any other questions on the bill list?
Okay. Action item 12.3, request the acceptance of the March 2018 fund reports and the student activity reports for informational purposes.
Any questions on those?
Action item 12.4, request approval of the investment reports for March of 2018.
Any questions on our investments?
Action item 12.5, request approval of the budgetary transfers for April 2017.
Any questions?
Action item 12.6, request the appointment of the deputy tax collectors. They're listed.
Any questions?
Go to section 13, assistant superintendent. Action item 13.1, permission to approve the University of Pittsburgh Center's University of Pittsburgh's Center for Urban Education proposal for equity and implicit bias for training coaching with the Woodland Hills School District from April 2018 to June 2018 at a cost of blank. So, do you have anything to add to that, Ms. Lenz?
Yeah, so there was, I'm waiting for an adjusted proposal from them. They gave us one for a year and a half, and right now I just want one to take us to the end of the school year. So I spoke with both professors today, and they're going to give me another proposal with a lower dollar amount because what they gave us was not really what we originally discussed. So they're editing that now. So hopefully I'll have something by the end of the week to kind of share with you guys in the update. We'll go from there.
If we don't, we'll just move it into next month. Right. We can discuss it more.
Any questions?
Yeah, is that like a one-time training?
No,
it's going to be, right now, it's going to be yearly, so for multiple years.
Well, he means between now and the end of this year.
Well, for this one, now, so what the intent is for them to come in and do observations and audits and look at data on what's going on in the classrooms in terms of teaching styles and whatever. And then we'll do, then from that, they'll plan their training. And then it's really going to be more coaching teachers and students also on kind of what implicit bias is and recognizing it and then it'll just kind of keep rotating every year until all of the staff is trained, and we kind of have different outcomes. So one of the things I told them was I wanted to see more outcomes, because there was a disconnect in their initial proposal. So we're looking at coaching, teachers, I mean everybody, the entire staff, on kind of what that looks like, and then what outcomes that we want to see from this training in terms of student engagement, discipline referrals, teaching styles, curriculum, stuff like that.
Okay, is this all buildings?
Yes, district-wide.
And so if I was to ask, how often would one teacher be put in the training? Would they get training once every half the school year?
No,
twice,
no.
once a year?
They'll be in buildings weekly, bi-weekly. And I think it's going to be based on need, on their observations, and kind of what they see. That's what was explained to me. That's why I kind of wanted them to frame it a little different, because it didn't have kind of what I originally had asked for.
Can you ballpark a cost for us?
I can't. I don't know. Because I literally made them cut a lot of stuff out, so I have no idea.
Maybe we should ask them to come present. Do you think they would come present?
After I speak with them about kind of where we need to be from now until June. I can do that. I'll call her tomorrow.
I think that would be helpful to have a presentation. And then if we could also discuss what a longer term would look like, we might have a better sense of whether we want to, what we want to look at after June as well.
Right, and they are going to run parallel with Dr. Hughley's work with the restorative practices out of the School of Social Work, and Dr. Wang out of the school. What's he out of education, right? And he has been doing student engagement for the last 5 years with us.
He's educational psychology specifically.
So we want those three entities within the university to kind of merge together with this bigger ongoing professional development.
The only one missing is the Department of Biology.
Sorry, Dr. Hildebrand, we can maybe get you in somehow.
Yeah, that's good. We'd have to write IRB or something. No part of that.
Any other questions on that?
Okay, and then finally move to section 14, superintendent, approval to establish a student activity fund for the cross-country team.
Any questions on that? Okay.
That's what I have.
Actually, so I don't think I've ever seen one of these forms before. So does there have to be a faculty sponsor? And it says the head coach of the cross-country team. That seems... These are students who have submitted forms, right? Just for my own edification. So there's...
Yeah, well,
other
you know
than
what?
This Nagy who signed it.
Yeah, this is...
And the
yeah, you know what? I'm sorry.
The signature that's on it is the coach.
Yeah, but you know what? Dr. Hildebrand's point is on target, and I should have audited this closer, and that I will do. These if it's student activities, the decisions regarding raising and spending have to come from students, not. So this thing needs taken off and sent back. So
I feel like I got something right, but I'm not sure why.
Yeah, you're right. That shouldn't even that shouldn't be there. And you know what?
What part shouldn't be there?
Well, the very last part, everything's fine up to that section 8 where it says financial responsibilities and identify who will be responsible for any funds and how the decisions to raise funds, spend funds will be made and documented. That has to be, if it's a student activity, it has to be students. That's an old audit finding from probably 10 years ago, and that can't be an adult. An adult can be responsible for collecting the money or something like that, but the decisions regarding raising and spending have to come from students. In other words, if you want to make a withdrawal from a student activity fund, a student has to sign off on that, not an adult.
The board has no real control
over
how these funds get spent.
Yeah, and
the board has control over.
I am so sorry I didn't read that closely enough.
It's up to the students.
I'm ashamed I didn't catch that, but I'm glad. Thank you for bringing it to me. That will be taken care of.
And on that note, I was curious to see how many student activity funds we actually have. This came up recently.
If you look at the activity fund report, you can see all of them.
Okay, well, there's a couple issues that I want to talk to you about then. As far as how they're being managed and mingled, similar to those that might be mixing up with funds that shouldn't be there.
The students are doing that?
No.
We'll talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That was a terrible oversight on my part. That should not be allowed to be there. I will fix that. Thank you.
Any other questions on that note? Okay. Is there any old business? Any new business? Okay.
Did we add everything we were going to
We
add?
did.
Okay.
We did.
Yeah, it's 2 tabs,
Yep,
right?
just the 2. Next week we will have our reports from committees last month, which brings us to public communication. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board at this time? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Who was the second?
I heard Ms. Johnson.